Hello, and welcome back to Of the People. I'm Robert Chernin.
And I'm Ericka Redic.
And we are back for our last segment, and we're so glad you stayed with us. So, Ericka, you know that the theme that has connected this whole show has been shortages, right? I mean, think about where we started, right? Mm-hmm. Shortages of teachers, shortages of politicians that have, or people that have courage. Mm-hmm. So we're going to stay with the last shortage.
Okay.
And the last shortage is the most serious one. That's the shortage of money.
Oh.
Well, so now we have not one, not two, but in the last several months, the three largest bank insolvencies in the history of the country. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
And this one was First Republic, which is the largest, right? And obviously, guess who's bailing it out?
You and I, Robert. Who else?
Well, only in part. So the two bailers, or can you say bailies? Is it bailies or bailers?
Bailies?
I don't know. Those guys, guys that are bailing it out. It is a combination of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corp.
Yep.
And our friend Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan Chase. By the way, in the last bankruptcy of this size and stature I think it was Western Republic in 2008. And guess who bought up those assets? Was
it JP Morgan?
It was JP Morgan Chase. What do you think of them apples? Yeah, so they're giving JP Morgan Chase the $50 million financing. 50, did I say million?
Yes.
I'm 3 zeros short. It's 50 billion. Sorry, folks. You know, what's a few billion or million between friends here? Exactly.
You know.
And they are tapping, no pun intended, the FDIC insurance fund. I'm an insurance guy, right? In my real life, in my prior life, I don't know, real life, prior life, for $19 billion. So here you have these mega banks too big to fail. And that's my question, right? They're absorbing everything. Interest rates are going up. Money is being pulled out of the economy now because they don't want to lend. And we'll talk about that in a second. Mm-hmm. So are we now in a place where they're too big to fail because everyone's going to be short on money?
Well, this is when we say too big to fail,
right?
What does that even mean anymore? And if we think that there's a problem with all these banks being too big to fail, then why aren't the monopoly powers being pulled out from Congress right now? Why are we allowing mergers this massive, already one of the largest banks in the country, to get even bigger?
Oh no, this makes them the largest.
Okay, so basically,
they are the largest.
So thanks to Big Daddy government, we're creating too big to fail, and then extorting money, literally extortion. I'm calling it extortion. If you're saying it's too big to fail, then you're extorting money from the American people to give to bankers.
Right. Look, to me, a couple of things. By the way, the too big to fail banks are the ones that mostly on the West Coast. The Signature Bank, I think, was on the East Coast. I forget which one, but two in San Francisco, one here. They were giving out jumbo loans at preferred rates to large lenders, knowing that the government was going to pick winners and losers if they became insolvent. And again, I don't think you've seen the last of this, but here's my question, and I don't understand, because there's an inconsistency. It's incongruous to me. So here we have, and we talked about it in our last show, the Biden administration is now, as of this month, the Biden administration has started tiering the mortgage rates, where the people with higher FICO scores or credit scores are going to subsidize people with lower credit scores. And if you have a lower credit score, it means that you are more of a credit risk to defaulting on your loan. So we're taking from the rich, we're giving to the poor. We are subsidizing people who may or may not. And look, I think everyone should have a home if they can afford it. But at the end of the day, credit risk is credit risk. So we are basically going to be bolstering bad risk at a time when banks are failing for making bad loans.
Exactly. It's 2008 all over again.
What am I missing?
It's 2008 all over again. This is what, unfortunately, I would have loved to see way more outrage during the Occupy Wall Street protests back in 2008, 2009. Unfortunately, that movement was co-opted by, another camp, and they kind of ruined it. That's another story. But Robert, this is where I just get outraged at watching the federal government destroy our economy, create the circumstances for wild, out of control inflation that tank the bond market, that make all these investments. They give out all this free money basically during COVID. Then the banks turn around and reinvest it in T-bonds. The government goes back on, the Fed goes back on its word, raises the interest rate, tanks all these, contributes to tanking these banks. They are subsidized by you and I, by our tax dollars and the federal government, and they are incentivized to take risks. So they're taking risks with our money, and then the government is like, oh, and also, by the way, just give money to these really risky creditees, or oh my God. Again, how do people not understand that what is wrong is caused directly by the federal government?
Right. Well, look, as we've talked about, the bigger the federal government is, the less freedom you have. And this is one aspect of it. But the other truth here is we are now once again teaching that there are no consequences, unless of course you're Main Street. So if you're in the gig economy, if you're working an hourly job and you're trying to make ends meet, you default on your loan. There's someone showing up at your...
We're taking your house. We're taking your car. We don't care about you.
Right. But the too big to fail guys, right? We've now created, there are no consequences. And again, remember, everything is interconnected, of course. I understand that, you have to balance the risk of a failure of the overall banking system, which, by the way, the same people that are telling us that illegal immigration has dropped 90% are now telling us that the national banking system is just fine. Don't worry about it. Well, that makes me feel much better. I don't know about you.
Oh, right? My God. If you believe that, I'll sell you the Brooklyn Bridge, okay?
And you're still in my lines. I love that you're still in my lines.
I had to.
That's okay. But here's the interconnectedness, right? Because of all of this, and the banks are trying to, now the other banks that are still standing are trying to shore up their portfolios, and and interest rates are up. They are reducing loans that they're making, that they're approving.
Of course.
So what does that do? That means that the businesses that need capital to expand can't get it, or the cost of borrowing is going to be more, which is going to lead us into that R word, which, by the way, they're going to redefine the R word. But the R word, for those... You got it. Come on. I know you can say it.
Recession.
Right. So it's supposed to be, a recession is defined as 2 consecutive quarters, right? That there is a reduced GDP, one after the other, right?
Right.
Doesn't necessarily mean negative GDP, gross domestic product. It just means that it's, that it's 2 quarters. If they're going to redefine illegal immigration, I will bet you all the tea in China, as the expression goes, and that's a lot of tea, all the tea in China, that they are going to redefine recessions, because heaven forbid there is a recession under Joe Biden's watch, with re-election around the corner, and Kamala Harris, I don't know if it's Kamala or Kamala Harris, but the VP waiting in the wings, to ascend to the throne.
Oh yeah. They already redefined recession. Was it last year?
Did they? I missed that.
Yes, it was. I think it was the first 2 quarters of 2022. I remember this specifically. It was during the campaign. They were redefining recession. No. Maybe some people used to consider it 2 quarters back to back, but really, that it doesn't really mean anything. People were like, well, then why? And then you see these videos where it's like, for years, all these news people saying a recession means this, a recession is this. Again, redefining words, lying to the American people.
If you can redefine racism, right? If you can redefine illegal immigration and you have the, I can't use that word. Let me find another word. The temerity. You like that word? Temerity. It's a good word.
Good
I have
word.
lots of big words. Temerity. It's a good word. If you have the temerity to look the American public in the face and actually try to tell us that illegal immigration has dropped 90%, I don't even know where to go with that, right? What is it? Lies, and damn lies. I forget what the expression is, but it's just it's egregious. Listen, I want to segue because I know we're coming to the end of the show to one positive note. There has to be at least one positive note on this show. So there is a case. So the Supreme Court just agreed to certify or certiorari Loper Bright. What is it? Loper Bright Entertainment versus Raimundo. This has to be some fishermen in New Jersey who are being told by the National Oceanographic Administration,
National
basically
Oceanic
NOAA, those guys.
Yep.
That they not only when you go fishing, you have to actually pay out of your pocket $700 each time to have a companion boat come with you to make sure you're not breaking any environmental rules. So they've challenged it. The Supreme Court agreed to hear it. And what it's really going to tackle, and we're going to talk about this more in our next show, is the Supreme Court may just now be taking on the administrative state, the unelected administrative state. It's going to be heard in this October. We're going to talk more about that in our next show. But folks, this could potentially be a really big deal for sort of getting America back to that balance of power, checks and balances. And Congress is actually going to need to start doing their job, which is to pass clear, easily understood laws. And that's all I have to say about that. Ericka?
And hey, everybody, go check us out on Rumble too. For those who are watching and listening, make sure to go check us out on Rumble. We've got some exclusive content over there.
With our hot buttered biscuits?
Yes. Precisely.
Folks, follow us on Twitter. It's at RB Chernin. Follow Ericka at Ericka, ERICKAREDIC. How'd I do? Did I do good?
Perfect.
I did good. And if you really wanted a piece of me, email me, Robert C. at ASICFund, ACEKFUND.org. Ericka, this was fun.
Great times. Good
and
show.
You are the best.
You're
Folks,
the best.
We're the best. Right. Folks, thanks for listening. I'm Robert Chernin.
I'm Ericka Redic.
And we are Of the People. We'll see you next week.